Welcome to AlphaCars Service Center. Today we're taking a look at this 2011 G55 AMG, a very cool and fun vehicle. But unfortunately, this vehicle is in for some rust concerns, and we have just completed the kind of initial inspection, initial rust damage evaluation on it. And I'm gonna go over our findings in this video and also show you some additional concerns where we would definitely need to do some more investigating. So first, starting at the front, on the bull bar, we can see there's various areas of the paint bubbling and chipping, especially this area right here. We can see the paint is kind of just hanging on right there. And then the hardware that secures it, we can see this pivot point here is, or attachment point there was chipping some paint as well. And the windshield frame, unfortunately, this is a common area on the G-Class vehicles. We can see this spot right here. If my camera will focus for you. We can see the rust damage there, the bubbling of the paint. And unfortunately, this didn't start here. This started underneath the seal. There's another spot right here. You can see the texture, and even another one right there. So you can see it right there. You can see the reflection. So definitely, some more investigating would be needed to see the extent of that. And obviously there's kind of random rock chips here and there that are starting to rust as well, which will kind of cause that. Now let's check out the kind of rocker panels. We removed the trim. You can see the trim is just sitting on the side step. And we can see all the debris that's fallen out, the different layers of metal that have kind of fallen off the vehicle. This is kind of the worst part of it, what I'm showing you first right there. And then on this side, there's also a pretty substantial part at the back. We can see once again, we didn't really chip away at that too much or anything. That all just kind of fell out when we removed the rocker panel. And now showing the driver's side rocker panel. We can see once again that same sort of situation and damage for those areas. Now let me show you inside the doors. So on this driver's door, we can see this kind of strike panel here. The hardware gets all rusty. So that is rusty, and then if we look. Same thing, I think most of the doors I will show you every door. So that hardware, that'll get so rusty where the head of it will just strip out when you go to remove that or touch it. And it'll even get so rusty that the heads will just break off. If you do have any sort of bite or tool to get in there, those will break off and you gotta drill them out. So while they don't seem too bad at the moment, this is a good time to just put new hardware in there if those hopefully wouldn't give too much trouble. Where we can see a little bit of rust areas starting in those seams, or at least on the surface of things. And specifically what I'm about to show you is the front edge of the rear door here. So you can see some of the paint is really starting to come off, delaminating. That's some substantial rust in the pinch weld there in the seams. So I wanted to show that. I apologize. Let me get the lighting on there. There you go. And the kind of door limiting strap, that has a little bit of residue on there as well. You can even feel it when you're opening and closing the door. It's kind of stiff. And there's also a little bit of rust damage starting in the hinge. So if I open up this door here, of course I've got my little light in hand to help us. Once again, this little strike panel, it's got the rusty hardware, and we can see even in the seam next to it, there is rust starting. This area on the door looked pretty good. Bottom seam looked pretty good on this one. And then looking at the rear door now on the passenger side, this has a considerable amount of corrosion and rust in that hinge. And this door is especially, when you open this, it's especially when it gets to here, you can actually see on camera, it's kind of hard to move because of that. And of course the limiting strap as well has some corrosion on it. This one, the bottom of the door, the pinch weld isn't as bad on this side. The camera gets focused here. We can see the center of the pinch weld though. There is, rust in there. We're gonna pay special attention to this rear area. If we look through here in the rear, it's the rear of the frame that we're looking at here, and the bumper support. We can see there's a considerable amount of paint and delamination. We can see different layers of the metal just kind of flaking off, even up there, and you can see there's a crack. Obviously it's spreading. There's a crack in the paint up there as well. So from what we can tell, it seems like the vehicle was, had some sort of damage or collision damage, and then it was repaired in a substandard way. So we can actually, if we look up like the seams here, you can see there's actually some big paint and tape masking lines is what I was looking for. And it looks like the vehicle was waxed at some point, and there's actually wax residue kind of in some of those lines. And some of these lines are even the edge of like the clear coat that's starting to delaminate a little bit. And if we look underneath the vent, this rear vent for the interior of the vehicle, right there, see, look right here, you can see those lines. Those are sanding marks, and those are underneath the paint. So this, was far from a perfect surface before they painted it. So unfortunately, especially on such a nice vehicle like this, it's unfortunate that has been repaired in that way. So this is more of a, you could say, cosmetic concern. We don't see any issues with this certain area with the, corrosion or things of that nature, but this repair back here is really a structural concern and a penetrating rust concern. We can see the paint is actually starting to fall off the bottom of the quarter panel here, and it has already started to do so. We can see in this corner right there, you can see under the paint, and you can see that orange. So for this area, definitely need more time to investigate there, as that's, pretty concerning. And, we'd need to remove the rear fender liners and the rear bumper to have full access there. Because I can see it through this little crack here, but it's sealed off, pretty well from the other areas. But looking at the driver's side now, we can see same thing. Doesn't seem as bad, at least on the surface, on this side. And the quarter panel is definitely, it's in a little better of shape, but you can still see like the rough finish right there. It's still starting to come off, and you can see underneath the rear body, the same is happening there. And then now on the rear hinge for the door, we can see decent amount of corrosion there, rust damage of the hinge and paint coming off. And then on the back here on the drip rail for the roof, we can see there as well concern there. We've got the G-Class up on the lift, and I just wanted to go over the evaluation for the underbody. So overall, it's actually pretty clean, not too bad, but on the mainly on the suspension components is where there's some rust concerns. The actual frame is pretty nice. So we can see some of the peeling and bubbling paint with the rust on a lot of the suspension components in like this bracket for the stabilizer bar or panhard bar. We can see it's literally just all that's flaking off on that component. In the steering box, steering components up here, we can see the peeling paint and rust damage there. Once again, a few little areas there, but the main frame rails are very nice, very solid. Really no concern there. And as we make our way to the back, the brake backing plates, those are totally compromised and rusted through. We can see that hole right here. If we start poking at these and wiggling them, literally they're gonna crumble into pieces. So those are definitely of a concern. And then some various places back here, we can see this area. And then lastly, I had pointed this out from the exterior video, but we can see the extent of the rust damage there on the rear bumper support area. But overall, here's this side as well. Overall, like I said, the vital components are in very nice shape. And now on this beautiful day at AlphaCars, we have the G55 outside just for the time being while we're using the bay for another vehicle currently. But it's nice and sunny out, so I figure let's do this little part of the video out here. So we completed all the paint thickness readings of assessing really every area of every panel to get the thickness readings. And I've got the page here printed out. So you'll see some of them like hood 12/8, that's a high and low reading. Some of the panels we like to take a high and low to kind of get an idea, especially on the panels that have had paint work done. And the factory readings are between 2 and 4.5 mils with this paint color. So we can see really any of the panels that aren't between those readings, they would have really had paint work at some point completed. But the ones to really pay attention to, we can see the right quarter has a max or a high of 65.5 mils and then a low of 24.5. And then, the cargo door or like the tailgate, that has a reading of 29.5, or 29.4, sorry, as a high, and then an 8 as a low, and then the left quarter 18.6 with a low of 2.2. So now looking at it outside as well, it's easier to see. You can see in that paint, the texture of it really is not factory-like. It's very also kind of inconsistent among the panel. And if you even look at the AMG, the badge here before it says AMG actually is on crooked as well. You can see it's kind of slanted up there when that was put back on after the paint work. And as mentioned before, there's wax or polish residue, in the paint lines. It's how thick the paint lines are. So especially in this area, that was reading in those mid 60 mils. Some of this was so thick that our paint meter tool couldn't even read some of it because there's so much. There's actually going to be a lot of body filler in there is what that is. So the tool actually, with how it reads the paint thickness, it actually is just too thick for it to even sense the metal behind it. Is kind of how that works. So I'm just making this short couple-minute video, just kind of explaining what the paint thickness means and the readings. So we're making great progress on the G-Class. The refinishing work has started on it. So let's start on this driver's side and work our way around. We can see the rocker panel has been removed, the rocker trim, and then the rust has been all physically removed, so really physically ground away. And then for peace of mind, the chemical treatment, which is this orange sort of primer you see. So it's a rust converting primer, and it's even been applied anywhere we found a little bit of rust to physically remove, then we also applied the rust converting primer. Even the little holes for the little metal strike panel there for the door, even that's been all treated. And of course, this little panel will be cleaned and it'll get new hardware that's not all rusty. And now looking in the rear door here, once again, anywhere where there were any traces of some surface rust, mechanically removed and chemically treated. And the door hinges were refinished as well. So those are looking awesome. We can see they present very nicely. Working our way back around the vehicle, the cargo door hinges have been done. Really look how nice that glossy finish is, looks awesome. And now on the passenger side, once again, the rocker trim, this panel, it's been removed. All the areas have been ground and treated. A little bit in this door jamb here, so you can see in that seam. And then now as we get to this front corner of the vehicle, there is actually some rust here that really seemed to be never ending. So what we assume is that there was a previous, substandard repair where this was kind of fixed, in a substandard way at some point in the past. So we actually had to cut out all the affected area, and we can even see there's still a little bit of that orange kind of rusty metal left, and it's still on the inside a little bit. So after the rest of that's cleaned and cut out, then we will fabricate and weld in a really nice patch panel there, and then go through all the proper steps to then prime and paint that. And then the fender, this fender actually, there was a big rust bubble on it, and the more we kept digging, the more we realized how deep it was. That hole is actually all from the rust. We didn't really cut out that hole. We did widen it to remove all the affected metal, and then this outer skin, we wanted to cut out a bit more just to make sure the rust wasn't spreading around. And so it does seem very clean. We've removed all the affected metal. And this orange you see here, that's actually like an insulation pad in between the fender skins, the inner and outer skin. So that's actually not rust. It might look like that on video, but it's actually some sort of kind of like a fiberboard material that's in between those skins. So I just want to mention that as well. And then finally, we do have a new finding on the G-Class. The passenger floorboard has some water in it. So we can tell it's even had more like all the way back here, and then it's slowly kind of dried and receded back up to here. And we can see how orange it is. You can tell it's been in here a while. And even behind this kind of carpet panel on the front, the bottom of that is all wet. And once again, you can tell it's had a decent amount of water in there. So this is something, obviously, you'll have to diagnose and leak test the vehicle, figure out where it's coming from, whether it be a door seal, sunroof drain, windshield seal. There's a few different areas that obviously it could be coming from. And of course we actually checked the driver's floorboard under here, and it is perfectly dry on the driver's floorboard there. We've got the front bull bar refinished. Looks so nice. Of course, we had it off the vehicle, fully disassembled to refinish all the parts individually. So there's no masking lines or anything like that. You can see the hardware is nice and clean. And the brackets on the vehicle itself also look really, really nice. We'll take a look at this side now. Awesome job by our technician. Really makes the front look like a new vehicle. And then if we go around the back, my last little update here, we're doing some work on the cargo door. So we can see the top edge, we've ground all of the rust off, refinished that. It's in the process of being refinished, but we're down to perfectly clean metal, which is what you want.
So we have an interesting situation here. It's a rust damage that we evaluated, and as in a process of evaluation, what our goal was to evaluate the extent of the damage. It started off with a few little bubbles. We started to knock down on it, and there was a lot of packed rust. So we knew the metal is going to be missing. We didn't know to which extent. So once we cleaned everything, it allows us to evaluate and have some good options. Obviously, we can, in an ideal world, you would remove the fender, you'd put it on the bench, you will do all kinds of repairs, but that is a massive layer of cost by removing the fender, not to mention there's some sealant there, and when you remove the fender, that sealant can cause some damage during the removal. So we always try to stay quality and cost efficiency. And for that, we were able to have these options. So one option is to fabricate a metal patch, slide it on the inside, and tack welded it, obviously use the weld-through primer, seam sealant, and do all that. And that's going to give us a really good solid patch, but it will also introduce some additional burnt paint, which will extend the repair. And also we're a little concerned with how little room we have here to do what we need to do. So we have another option, which is a better option for this scenario. One thing about this area, it's not a structural component. So theoretically, this is not something we'd do, but you could stuff it with body filler and it will last for maybe even a few years, but it's certainly not going to last, that's questionable, it's not going to last much longer. The other option, we can do a fiberglass patch, which is going to last longer, but we even have a better option. We're actually going to install a metal patch with a metal bonding agent. which is bare metal to bare metal, overlapped, and it will give us very solid joint. Such solid joint that manufacturers use that type of joint for installing quarter panels on brand new vehicles. So we are going to use that here. It's a two-component metal-to-metal bonding agent. To gain more of the surface, we're going to grind a little bit more. And then what we need to do, we need to recess the repaired area, because if we put the patch on top of this metal, it's going to raise everything, so then we won't be able to level it with the rest of the fender. So we're going to make some strategic cuts and then knock down those edges, like lower those flaps, and then on the inside we're going to install that metal patch. And we're obviously going to seal off that little hole, which is actually the cowl of the vehicle. That's, oh no, wait a second. This is, yeah, this is the cowl and the fender sits over it. So we're going to seal that off. That's not structural, and we have some good metal to bond to using that bonding agent, and then we'll have the metal plate sitting on top of that. So that should all work out. That's our recommendation, that's our plan, that's the most cost-efficient repair. Now, when we're all done here, we're going to have a repaired area, and to really properly fit that with the finish that with the rest of the vehicle, we would have to refinish the fender, or at the very least refinish the upper portion of the fender up to that molding. But we may have another solution for that. We're going to run that by the vehicle owner, and if they're okay with that, we are going to do the following. And we're obviously going to do that symmetrically. This is a heavy-duty vehicle, kind of like military heritage. Certainly going off-road is not a foreign idea with this. So there are big metal plates that you do on the Jeeps and on such vehicles, but what we're suggesting, we can do a textured chip guard, and we can limit that to just this area on both sides. It might look, it is the most cost-efficient way of repairing this, because getting into refinishing is going to be a more expensive option, but it may still be the choice of the vehicle owner. We can still do that. But I think it's actually going to look pretty cool if we did that. And we also going to lower the hood right now and see what is the, yeah, so we can certainly do that. We can do the textured finish and take it right from here and go along the edge and bring it up to here. So when this is closed, it's only going to have about 20 millimeters, 3/4 of an inch of that textured, kind of following the hood line. And the other option, we can do just the segment right here. We made excellent progress, and what we have here, we prepared the area. We recessed the edges. We fabricated a metal patch that would be recessed as well. So we're gonna stay under the surface of the fender. And this is how it looks with the bonding agent already applied. We'll let it cure. It actually is already tacky, so it's pretty, it dries pretty quickly, but you need 24 hours for full cure, and then it becomes like a piece of metal. So then we're gonna level the top of it. We'll use very little leveling body filler, which is, we use epoxy base too, and then we can start on refinishing.
And now the G-Class is up on the lift, and we've done quite a bit of work to the underbody. So we've removed all of the loose rust, and it already looks so much better. And then the technician has just finished spraying the rust converter. So now that is really attacking and penetrating all of the leftover surface rust, and that will prepare it for the protection that we're gonna apply next. So what this rust converter is doing is, like I said, the rust kind of absorbs it, and then it kind of locks it away, so to speak. It really chokes it up from having access to more moisture and oxygen. It kind of displaces those things. And then the protection, which we'll apply next, will also do that as well. And then I will note the rotor backing shields. Of course, we did not touch those because they're pretty much ready to fall apart. As we can see in various places, there's already holes in them. So these we'll get to when we do the mechanical work on the vehicle in service. That will be handled when we get, kind of when we get there, not at this time. And of course, we'll give you all the options when we get there. And if we're gonna install new backing plates, we can rust-proof those before we even put them on the vehicle to prevent this from happening in the future. And now this quick little segment, I'm just showing what the rust converter looks like once it dries and cures and fully reacts with the existing rust. So we can see everything looks black now. It turns the rust kind of a darker black color, and that's how you know it reacted properly. So in the last segment, of course, we had just sprayed it, so it was kind of more glossy, still wet. And we can see now it's kind of more like a matte finish, kind of a matte black finish. So I just wanted to make this segment showing it doesn't go on black or anything. It goes on clear, and then it reacts with it, so you know it worked. So it's some pretty awesome stuff. And now we've completed the fluid film application on the G-Class. So first I'm gonna start kind of on the exterior to show you inside of the wheel well so we can see all the suspension's been done in there. Going around to the passenger side. Once again, enclosed areas, very thorough application up on the strut and spring. And then on the driver's side here, we've injected it into the rocker panel here, the enclosed area. Of course, we'll clean any little excess we can see there, but just want to show that we have done that once again inside this driver's rear wheel well. And now as I make my way to the other side, very important areas up here in the G-Classes, this rear shock mount. Very important that that's done. And then I will note that the passenger side rocker, that has not had fluid film put in it yet, because we can see that yellow tape right there taping that hole from the rust damage. So once that is repaired, we will do the fluid film on the inside, because of course we don't want to inject fluid film in there and then be welding and grinding. So that will be done after. But we have selected to go with the clear fluid film and very liberally applied it, as we can see. So this will turn clear over time as it starts to cure, and the surfaces it's applied on will start to absorb it as well. So even the side step right here, we can see the brackets. We've applied it on there. This side step we did remove because we're gonna have to weld part of that rocker panel, so we need full access. And then as we just take a nice look, all the important components have been coated. And then things like, the drive shaft areas where we don't want the fluid film, of course, we haven't applied it there. But very liberal coverage, as I mentioned. So now, once this starts to cure, the surface starts to really absorb it. You'll be able to monitor the condition of everything underneath. And really, all this kind of yellow hue, this will all kind of end up looking kind of how this knuckle does, with that slight yellow hue, but we can see exactly what the surface condition is underneath. And then we've even put some on this front little skid plate here, and up on the steering box. Really just done a very thorough coverage, and of course enclosed areas as well, like inside the frame, all these little holes in the frame. We've put our special tool in there, which is kind of like a long, thin rubber snake with a little metal tip on the end to inject it. And then I will note as well, if I go back out here, this rear bumper structure area, all that has been coated very thoroughly, and all that cleaned up very well once we got all the loose rust off of there. And I meant to show you, as I just mentioned, this is the special air applicator for the fluid film that we use. Right now, there's our snake attachment on it. Very long, flexible rubber hose with a little metal tip. And what's cool about this metal tip, we can see there's not just kind of one hole in it. It has a special spray pattern where it sprays 360 degrees around from it. So this isn't just spraying in a straight line, it's spraying all around, fogging the area. So when we get this in the enclosed areas, we know it's a complete coverage. And then this wand here, which has the more tight spray pattern on it, still has a nice spread, but this is a much more focused spray pattern is what I was trying to say. This one is what we use for all the general application and places where this nozzle will fit as well. But like I said, we love this longer special applicator because we can really get into places that would otherwise be impossible unless we had the special tooling.
So today we're going to be taking a closer look and actually getting some work done on the right quarter panel. We already started on the outside and we'll provide an update our findings so far. The quarter panel, we're going to work on the inside to access this seam, which connects the back panel, rear panel to the quarter panel. And this is a pinch weld seam that we're going to access from inside by removing a few things, certainly removing the bumper and opening it up, cleaning the rust, and sealing this weld seam from inside because that's how they rust. They rust from inside and out. What we're also learning now, because we started to clean this seam here, and the metal is actually pretty good and strong, but what we're learning, there was a collision damage here, and there's a lot of body filler we're learning now. And actually, it looks like this work, when they did the repair, they did not remove the bumper because they did minimal preparation on the bottom. And we see some body filler cracking here. That's actually a crack right there. That's a crack of the body filler. And the thickness of the body filler is quite substantial, definitely exceeding what we would want to see. So we're going to remove the bumper to access this bottom edge, and I can already see, again, very common when the body work gets done, and here it is. When the body work gets done and they don't have proper access to work on it, that's what happens here. So we're going to remove the bumper, clean this edge, but we're already seeing concerns with the amount of body filler here. So it's possible that we would have to, we'll see what the options are, but it sounds like the only right option, long-term option, would be to remove the body filler, repair the sheet metal to minimize how much body filler would be applied, and certainly remove all that stuff. That's something that we're going to be able to evaluate once we remove the bumper. So the G-Class is now on the lift. We removed the rear bumper, and this is the area of concern where we discovered the body filler, and we wanted to see how much rust and where does it go here. Unfortunately, the rust is all the way in, and actually we can even see this piece of body filler is actually, the rust traveled under it. So there's really no way to do any type of the correction here other than breaking off the body filler and redoing the body work. And that's gonna be our recommendation. Unfortunately, it was not done right. When they did this body work, they did not remove the bumper, and they didn't have access to properly repair the sheet metal, not to mention properly prep the metal before the paint work. So we're dealing with this major deficiency. So we are going to be reaching out to our body shop foreman. He's going to inspect it with us and give us recommendations and the estimate for repair. But you can actually see, let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah, you can see that's where the rust has gone under the body fill, and the body fill is pretty much delaminating. We suspect that's what happened here, and that's where the crack is. With the windshield frame, there was a lot of work, more work than we thought, but it came out real nice. So we're gonna have the body shop give us a quote to refinish it instead of doing checkup, because there was too much work and too many areas for touch-up. So that definitely has to be refinished by body shop, and we're gonna have these moldings removed. And the windshield, to avoid potential cracking of the windshield, we pulled up the seal by inserting this spacer cable that you can see in there, and that holds it up, so we were able to get in there. Luckily, the rust was not all the way in. Most of it was on the perimeter. There are a couple of spots where it was a little deeper. We went in there as much as we could, but it all looks very good. So this is flat black primer, and we're gonna, when it goes to the body shop for that quarter panel, they will refinish the windshield frame.
We're making awesome progress on the G55, so let's do a little update here. First, we're gonna talk about the fender repair that we've completed. We remember the last time we saw this, there was actually a hole under there, and we were waiting for our repair to cure with that kind of body, special body bonding agent. Well, obviously now that's done, and we've applied the chip guard there. So actually, let me lift up the hood so we can get a good look at it. So what we've done is, of course, flatten the area. We can see it looks awesome. Looks like a factory surface, and then applied the chip guard, which is this textured, kind of thick, rubberized paint surface that'll fight against corrosion and future damage. And we've continued it along actually the edge of the hood. So when the hood's down, you really don't even see this. You see it a little bit, but it really looks like it could be factory, especially if you look at how nice the lines are right here and how everything is spaced out. It looks awesome. And we even did it on the inner kind of fender lip right here. So now that has some more protection, especially against things settling in there and causing corrosion. And then of course to match, this fender was fine, but to match, we applied it on this side as well. So same exact shape and measurements. And you may be wondering now why this side, if we look, is thinner than this side. We can see it's considerably more width with the chip guard on the left side. Well, that's actually because the hood overhangs more on this passenger side. So if you were to just measure off of this inner fender line here and space them evenly, you would shut the hood and one side would be sticking out farther than the hood, and it wouldn't look all that good. So let me actually close the hood, or just get it on its latch quickly. So now that I have it lowered, we can see how far the hood overhangs this edge here, and we can see the chip guard is exactly in line with it. It looks really good, especially once the hood's fastened all the way. You really don't even know it's there unless someone points it out. And now look on this side. This side has that longer or wider overhang, and we can actually see the hood because it overhangs more off of the engine compartment there. So now when the hood is closed, once again, this is in line with the edge of the hood, and it looks awesome. And same thing, of course, we had to extend it right here because of that repair area, but it really looks like it could be there from the factory. And I know some other areas on the vehicle we were using this chip guard, so it'll all look uniform. It'll all look very nice. This vehicle did just come back from the body shop, and the windshield frame was repainted, including the cowl here where the windshield wiper spindles are there, and this all looks really quite amazing. Looks like a new vehicle right there. And then there was also some work done on this quarter panel. We remember earlier in the video, there was some like crazy delamination happening and rust coming through and insane amounts of body filler. It was really pretty bad, a lot of substandard paint work on this vehicle in the past. But now we have this section was refinished by the body shop, as well as kind of this section right here that I'm showing you, so we can see how nice that paint quality is. We still are gonna polish it, and you may see some specks here and there. That's actually a little bit of dust. The vehicle was driven back from the body shop, and we still need to give it kind of a quick clean there. But obviously, it's just looking really, really good. Especially, I like having these moldings removed. It's all just very uniform there. And we will end up recommending a paint correction to the vehicle owner, because in the next segment, we're gonna go over the paint condition. Now we're gonna talk about the current pre-existing paint conditions, the paint quality. We're gonna recommend a paint correction, at least on the front end of the vehicle. It is, the paint work, it needs, you know, some definitely paint correction around the whole vehicle, but mostly this front end is where it's at its worst, and it's gonna be kind of the most noticeable if it's left alone. So let's look at the hood here. I've got my light, and we have some lights from the showroom reflecting on it. So look at we can see these marks right here that move with the lighting. That is all really inconsistencies in the finish. There's micro marring, there's hazing, there's swirls, there's light scratching. Really, any imperfection that there could be in vehicle clear coat, there actually is on this paint work. That's why we can see those kind of hazing marks that move with the lighting and with the angle there. And there's even, because like I mentioned, the substandard paint work that's been done, there's even a paint run right here. You can see that textured paint run. So all this, the only way to really improve this as much as possible is to do a full paint correction, which means wet sanding, compounding, polishing. Really many steps into this process, very labor intensive, but it's gonna have the best outcome. And even see this panel right here, look at these kind of sanding marks that come through in the clear coat. It's kind of crazy depending on how you look at it, all the new things that come out in the light. Same thing, these are actually a bunch of little light kind of scratches here. There's just a lot of different areas right here on the hood. If we see where my light is, we can see those white marks, that's scratching. So really, to make this come out as best as possible, we're definitely recommending, you know, a paint correction. And then we're also gonna recommend paint protection film after the paint correction is done, and make sure, obviously, we're happy with that paint correction. And, you know, the things like the windshield frame that were just freshly painted, perfect time is right now to put paint protection film on there, and that will really prevent the rock chips and damage from happening again. Because of course, most of the corrosion that happens in these areas, it only starts because of rock chips. So just due to the boxy, you know, iconic design of the G-Class, unfortunately, it does pick up a lot of rock chips on those kind of forward faces of the vehicle. And I have a full separate video on YouTube just explaining our custom PPF options for these vehicles. Of course, we specialize on these vehicles. That's why we have just two in our showroom right now. And there's actually one just outside that if we had the right angle, you could see it through that door. So we work on these vehicles frequently, and we really know the best way to protect them and also refinish them, you know, places to look for the common corrosion. But the paint protection film, we have, you know, custom cut templates where it'll cover the whole windshield frame. We actually slip the material under the windshield seal, so there's really no open area that could get damaged. We like to apply it on the front edge of the roof, these back edges of the windshield frames, we like to do it there as well. So, and of course there's different options for the front end, whether you want to wrap the whole front end or do a partial front end where it'll kind of stop halfway back. So I've kind of summarized it really quick there, but definitely, you know, give that video a watch that I have, specifically just kind of talking about all that and showing it installed on a vehicle. You can see how nice it looks and the protection it does offer. And at the same time, we are going to recommend to replace these side marker lights or the blinkers. The housings are starting to crack. We can see those lines right there. So housings are starting to crack. They are just very weathered, and we already have approval to replace these side markers. So at the same time, it'll also save a little bit of labor because we'll have them removed anyways to really do a good job with the paint correction if we do move forward with that. So it's just a great time just to toss some new ones on. And then with the paint correction, also these new side markers and just the rest of the work on the vehicle, just like the bull bar there, that looks awesome. It'll all just be a uniform kind of new vehicle look, and it's really the best time to do it. Like I said, because things will be apart anyways. We're currently in the process of replacing the front turn signals on the G-Class. We've just started the paint correction on the front of the vehicle. We've already replaced the side marker lights. These are looking awesome. But what I wanted to show was something we're going to do as far as replacing the turn signals. So we're actually going to install a couple of riv nuts in these factory holes, because how Mercedes decided to mount these to the vehicle was with these flathead screws, and there's actually a nut and a washer on the other side. So that means taking out the wheel well liner, taking off the wheel, or taking out the headlight trim and the headlight just to get a wrench up in there underneath this fender. And there's no access from the engine bay either. So why Mercedes did this, I don't really know. We're kind of stumped as to why they didn't just have a threaded nut already tack welded on the back of the fender. But like I said, it's gonna actually take us the same or less time to install a riv nut in these holes than to dismantle, another part of the vehicle to get to them. And you may be asking, what is a riv nut? What is a nut cert? It's another name for it. Well, it's a little threaded insert, and we can see it has these little ridges on there to bite the metal. So pretty much this gets inserted into the hole, and then using this special tool, it crimps it, it kind of expands it in the hole. So then it grabs the metal. And of course, we have these in the exact thread size and pitch for the factory bolt. So these will now just have a little threaded insert in them. And then for the future, whoever else ends up having to maybe replace these down the line, if ever, now they'll just be pleasantly surprised and unscrew these, and this will come right off. There'll be no nut on the inside that's spinning or falling out, and that you have to get back to reinstall them. So that's just something I wanted to mention that we were doing. We're really obsessed with the quality here at AlphaCars and improving things. And we can see how nice the new lens looks as well. The old one had cracking in the lens. It was just very weathered. And with the extensive work this vehicle is getting, we really just wanted to freshen everything up. And including the side markers, the old side markers, the bulbs were burnt out, and these were all cracked up. We actually had to do a wiring repair on this side because their wires were corroded and there was no current getting to the bulb socket. And we can see this is the old turn signal. Just looks kind of weathered. We can see the cracking. And this was one of the old side marker lights. The bulb was severely burnt out, all loose. It had been melted over time, this socket. If you actually saw a new one of these, there's supposed to be a couple tabs that you can squeeze. This is just really deformed. We can see the plastic had been bubbling on the inside, and we can see all the cracking as well. And now we've just polished the area where the turn signal was. This pattern left, you can actually feel it with your finger. Over time, it kind of made an imprint on the clear coat of the paint. And of course, this has actually been repainted before, as I mentioned, you've learned earlier in the video. So over time, it has made this imprint, and for all we know, the body shop that repainted this may have reattached this when the clear coat was still pretty soft as well, which that could have caused what's happened. But we've just enlarged the holes for the riv nut, as you have to do that a little bit, and then we've applied the factory color, touch-up paint inside the holes, of course, to prevent any rust. So that's all looking great, and we're about to do the same on the other side. Now the technician's just finishing up installing this driver's side turn signal, and we can see the passenger side's already been installed. It looks awesome, really, especially with the new side markers. It just really updates the front end, makes it look a lot more fresh and new. And as you saw, the technician, all he had to do was just screw in the mounting screws. There's no disassembling other parts of the vehicle to get under there for one little nut. So now we've really updated and improved the mounting system of the turn signals, as well as polished underneath. As we saw, they looked really nice. I will make my way over here and just mention that the customer did approve all of the recommended work on the G-Class. So we will be doing a full paint correction, really every painted surface of the vehicle. We're gonna do wet sanding where needed, and compounding and polishing. And then we're gonna apply paint protection film to the partial front of the vehicle, the kind of window sills here, and the full windshield frame, as you've seen us do on other G-Classes, really the common areas you need to protect on your G-Class. And then, lastly, we'll do a full ceramic coating on all the remaining surfaces, even the glass, even the wheels. So really a lot of work to be done on this G-Class. And as we've already seen in this video, it's had work done at the body shop. We've done a lot of rust repair here and refinishing. It actually has new tires and a lot of new mechanical components. There has been a slight gap kind of in the cosmetic progress because we had to do a lot of mechanical work on this vehicle. So now that that is all set, I've extended road tested it a couple times, and it's really in tip-top shape mechanically. So now we're gonna finish it off with all this cosmetic work. So not only cosmetic refinishing and rejuvenation, but also a mechanical restoration just about has been done on this G55. It's another day, and we've made awesome progress on the paint correction on the G-Class. The last time we saw this, we had only just started the front end when we were replacing the turn signals, and just look at the G-Class now. It's about 80 to 90% done. So let's just do a walk around here. This molding has been replaced. The original one was kind of lifting on the ends, and the adhesive was starting to lift, and we can see how nice that new one looks. Of course, we have the spare tire removed. There was sort of like an aftermarket badge stuck there. We did remove that for the customer. That's what they wanted. I think we agree it looks better as well. Like I said, we're about 80 to 90% done. Just doing some final touches on improving some final areas on the G-Class here, and then we're gonna have the paint protection film applied to preserve this great paint finish. A few days have gone by, and now the paint protection film has been applied to the G55, and wow, does it look amazing. Let's check this out together now. I will comment, there are a few areas with some kind of like haze and wipe marks and some dried solution from the installation. Those aren't imperfections in the vehicle surface. It's just from the installation solution. Next on the list for this vehicle, it's getting a full wash and decontamination before the ceramic coating application. But now let's take a look at that film installation. So this vehicle received, starting out now, it's the partial front end. And you can only see in certain lights, you can actually see it right here, the line right here. So the film stops right here, and you've got full protection forward of that on the hood. It carries a little bit farther back on the fenders. It even has the protection on the fender flares there, the headlight surrounds, front grille, front bumper, as well as the mirror caps here. So this really boosts the gloss of the vehicle. It kind of acts like a magnifying glass. It kind of magnifies the surface underneath, and you can just see in this video, it's like a mirror. It's crazy. And it's not even fully clean. Like I said, there's still a little bit of the solution dried on it here and there, dulling the finish. Now we get into some of the more custom areas. And what I mean by custom areas is all custom cut by us. So this partial front end, some of the manufacturers of the film have some nice pre-cuts for the front end on these vehicles. However, when we looked into the other really common areas that you need to protect on your G-Class, like the windshield frame, the front of the roof, or the sort of window frame edges on the doors, there was really no good option. And especially on the frame, I believe one company did have a pre-cut for part of the windshield frame, but it didn't go all the way up to the seal. It didn't cover, I believe, this lower portion. There was still so much area for a rock chip to get in there, damage the surface, and cause rust. So now this full section here is protected around the whole thing, and you can't even tell the film's there because we actually slip it under the edge of the seal around the whole windshield. It's done in pieces, in sections, so we can see there's a little seam here, but it's perfectly up against each other. You actually can't feel it with your finger. It's quite amazing. So now there's no area for one little rock to find the perfect spot to damage and then still cause the rust damage that we're trying to avoid. We also applied it on the lower cowl here, so we removed the wipers, and we can see the seam kind of right here. Once again, you can't feel it with your finger, and it kind of goes around this edge and ends in that seam. So even if you have a rock chip fly over the vehicle, or sorry, a rock, and it hits this edge, you're still protected there. Let's take a quick look at the roof. We've got the roof forward edge all protected, and it has protection all the way from this forward molding here, right here, all the way to the front of the sunroof right here. So once again, it's hard to see the line. You can see it a little bit right there, but now that full forward edge is protected. This vehicle, we did have to do some touch-ups up there because there were already some rock chips that we needed to correct. And this vehicle has it applied on all of the window frames. So another very common area on the G-Class where the rocks kick up from the tires, and then they like to really hit these frames and cause some serious rust. We've seen structural rust here. So this vehicle has some touch-ups already that are now protected with the film, but once again, this is all custom cut. There's no options from any of the film manufacturers that at least we have seen for pre-cuts on this area. So this is all custom laid, custom cut, and it starts about here, wraps this full edge, and now you've got full protection all the way up and around, ending about right there. So this vehicle really has the full film protection package, especially, of course, the front end of the vehicle is very important, especially the front of the hood, but really the windshield frame, those door, window frame edges, that is really where it'll cause the damage. It'll cause the big repair bills when that rust really gets into places like the windshield frame. So now this vehicle is going to be prepped and have the ceramic coating application done next. Welcome to the long-awaited last segment of the G55. This has been a very involved project. Many unexpected things we have found that we've had to correct, and it just looks amazing. Fully worth the wait. The customer has been very impressed and very satisfied with the outcome, and I know we are as well. So let's take a close look. Now the ceramic has been applied on the G55, and just check out the reflection of the paint there. Now with that ceramic really boosting the gloss and the depth of the rest of the paint, it's really hard to tell where that paint protection film starts and ends. Really the perfect combo doing that paint protection film with the ceramic on the rest of the surfaces. The ceramic's also been applied to the chrome on things like the bull bar here and the front of the grille. Really, it's been applied to any surface that will accept it, which is pretty much all exterior surfaces, including the rubber trims, the plastic housings here, the new turn signal housings, as well as the rubber trims and gaskets, the glass, the taillight lenses, the side marker lights here. Like I said, really all exterior surfaces. This is what I meant to mention, the plastic vents here on the back. We can see how deep of a sort of a black shine that plastic has now. It really looks like it's factory fresh. And this vehicle is just outstanding, the level of depth and gloss it has now. The paint really came out better than we expected. Of course, like any vehicle with the unknown paint work that's been done, unknown quality, we did run into some areas that had some very substandard work done, but we were able to mostly correct that. And like I said, the outcome has exceeded really our expectations and the customers of how well this paint finish has come out. So our detailing technician really does an awesome job. It's really an art form, what he does correcting the clear coat of the vehicle. Just look at how glossy that is. It's really a perfect reflection of our showroom going down the road, it would really be striking to see this vehicle. Let's look at the roof now. Once again, fully ceramic coated, and check that out. It's like a perfect reflection, almost like the vehicle isn't even here. And now just opening the doors quick here. Even all of the door jambs and everything have been coated. So I'll just show you a couple of these. We can see how glossy even in here is. It just looks amazing. And even the wheels are shining very nicely as well. So now this vehicle is really protected for many years to come. All of that substandard work in the past, before our customer purchased the vehicle, all that has been really corrected as best as possible. And now this new sort of corrected finish has been preserved in the best way possible for many years to come, as I had just mentioned. So if you have a Mercedes G-Class or any other vehicle for that matter, and you're interested in having some of the work or all of the work performed in this video that you've just watched, reach out to us, 978-263-9000. Send us an email to service@alphacars.com. You don't even have to be local. We have many shipping partners. We can make the process very easy for you to get your vehicle here. This G-Class is actually from Illinois, so we had the vehicle picked up from a customer, shipped here, and the same thing's about to happen. This vehicle is going to be picked up from AlphaCars and shipped right back to our customer and dropped right in their driveway. So I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something new and found it satisfying, now being able to see the outcome. And please leave a like on this video and subscribe so then you don't miss out on the latest motoring content.